Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are talking about Star Wars Legion and Battle Forces. We're talking about new things that we want to see in Battle Forces, also new Battle Forces that we'd like to see. It's sort of just a good old Battle Force discussion. I'd love to chat with you guys, and also want to hear what you guys think. Speaking of hearing what you think, we are doing that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway again. All you have to do is be a subscriber. If you're already subscribed, you're already halfway there. Second part is to leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. You just got to let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below, and if you're already a subscriber, you're already good to go. We've got about another week going on for that, so you have plenty of time to enter to win. So, Battle Forces, very, very good stuff. They're fun. There are new ways to build lists. There are new ways to do with thematic things. There are new ways to balance certain specifics. Open up new. Hey, you want to run, 5 snow speeders, here's a specialty battle force for that, or whatever. There isn't one for that yet, but I'm saying they can do a lot of stuff like that. But not all battle forces are balanced. Not all battle forces have the same amount of depth and content. And I think that there's definitely some that are going to easily get more content and some that are less likely to get new stuff. So that's what we're focused on today. For example, I think like Echo-based defenders are very likely. It's very easy for them to get new things as, we've already seen like mounted Tauntaun commanders announced. We've already seen Imperial probe droids announced for the Empire. Those are obviously going to go into their respective battle forces as well. We've already seen Ahsoka Tano announced. She's obviously going to be able to go with 501st, at least in one of her versions, I'm sure. Maybe not all of them, but potentially all of them even. And so some battle forces seem like they're easily able to get new stuff. Whereas other ones seem like they're a little bit more tricky. And then some that it's so hard for them to get new stuff, they're not even a battle force yet. I'm talking about Geonosians. Geonosians, they just got a reprint. We still haven't gotten that Geonosian battle force yet. This was promised when Geonosians were first announced. It was promised twice by Will Schick that, yes, Geonosians would get a battle force shortly after their release. We're longly after their release right now, and we still haven't seen the Geonosian battle force. I would wager there are a couple of reasons for that. One of those reasons is the fact that I'm guessing there's the shortage on B2s has led to some of the difficulty in running Geonosians as well as people would have liked to have run them. And I think another part is that they don't have that many Geonosian things. Now, Geonosians work just fine in a separatist army. They don't necessarily need their own battle force, but of course, why not? Maybe I think one of the benefits of running, of having a battle force, specifically for something like Geonosians that can already run in separatist units, is that it gives you options to play with force organization a little bit, because maybe you'll say, all right, well, you know what, maybe if you want to run more than 6 core, if you wanted to run only Geonosians, they did this for Wookiees, for example, and we're going to talk about Wookiees, but there's other Geonosian stuff we haven't even seen yet, like their big sonic turrets and stuff like that. Plus, there's lots of more Geonosian stuff beyond what's just in the movies. You also have like undead zombie Geonosians, the Queen and things like that. So there's a lot of Geonosian stuff they could potentially add. And I wonder if they're holding off on the battle force until they get a little bit more stuff, because maybe a Geonosian battle force wouldn't really use B2s. Maybe a Geonosian battle, because if you want to run Geonosians with B2s, you already do that in just a regular separatist list. Maybe, just maybe, for a Geonosian battle force, the idea is that it'd be all Geonosian, or at least mostly Geonosian. I think if they do Jango Fett, I don't think Jango Fett would go in there, even though he fought at the Battle of Geonosis. He had that classic line of, well, there are no bounty hunters here. The Geonosians don't trust them, or whatever. So that I would imagine you wouldn't have bounty hunters in a Geonosian battle force. But in a separatist, where they're forced to work together, then sure. So that's kind of how I envision that going. But I think to do the Geonosian specific battle force, it's going to take more units, and that's something that I would like to see. Same thing comes to mind as we approach the inevitable announcement of Gungans, which of course they're in the art book. They've been spoiled. They've been kind of soft tiptoed around. Of course they're doing Gungans. The big expectation is they'll be announced at Adepticon. However, they might not be ready yet. It might be longer yet still. One reason for that might be that maybe if they want to be able to launch them, maybe Geonosian and Gungan battle forces will both come out at the same time. I'll point out a little anecdote that back in the days of Fantasy Flight Games, when Luke Eddy and Alex Davey first announced battle forces, or at that time they were called sub-factions, when they first announced sub-factions that they were going to be creating those, the first two that were mentioned as of something that they wanted to do were Gungans and Geonosians. So it stands like it would be like a rightful succession, or sort of just like falling right in line that those two battle forces might just come out at the same time. And if so, I think they would need some decent depth. The way that they have been doing stuff, I would imagine Gungans to get a release that sort of mirrors what Geonosians had. I imagine you'll see Gungan warriors. My expectation is Gungan warriors will have shields as options, maybe build options, kind of like your BX droids have, and then maybe those shields will be an upgrade. You don't have to build your Gungans with shields, because not every single one is using a shield, but a lot of them are. Or that it's an alternate unit type. The shields could also be an alternate unit type, like maybe it's a core that has two different options, or maybe the shields are special forces. But I expect the shields to be either a heavy or an equipment option that you can give your Gungans, and so you'll have you can basically build maybe out of a unit of like 5, maybe like 2 are, holding the shields, something like that. I'd imagine that they'd have basic melee, that they wouldn't have ranged at all, except your heavy, you'd have like a Booma thrower, which would be your ranged option, and he might be significant. He might roll like 4 dice, potentially. So if he's the only person, then the whole unit's only rolling 4 dice in range, then, of course, then it would kind of balance out. Something like that is kind of what I'm expecting from Gungans. Maybe not 4 dice, maybe only 3. It all depends on what color dice and what surge, all of that stuff takes into account. But that's kind of how I'm expecting Gungans to work. That seems like it's a thematic way to go. I expect that to be in that Gungan Warriors sort of standalone box. And then I expect them to have Kadus. If they're already doing mounted commanders, it makes sense that you would have, Captain Tarpals and Jar Jar Binks on Kadus. Those are your 2 named. But I think if you're going to do a Gungan battle force, you need more than that. And I think Gungans need a battle force more so than Geonosians do, because you don't often see Gungans fighting alongside with clone troopers. There was that arc in where they went to Mon Cala in the Clone Wars, but this is the one that I think is most marketable. This is the Gungan battle scene that's most recognizable, and I think this is the Gungan scene you want to pay tribute to first and foremost, with leaving some of the Clone Wars Gungans maybe secondary as filler that come in later. But if you want to have a full Gungan battle force, I don't think you're going to get by with just 2 commanders and some core. I don't think that's going to do it. You might have Kadu riders also, and that gives you your support, but that still would feel kind of hollow. I think that's enough to maybe make it work, at least to start. But if you're not going to have the big Fombas in the back, maybe they're too big, maybe not. There's a lot of different size charts for the Fombas, although it's hard to ignore the on-screen presence of how big they are. But if you look at all of the toys and merchandise, they're a lot more reasonable. So that's something to think about. I think they could still do the Fombas. I would love to see them at least in Grand Army. I've talked about this before. I'd love to see a Grand Army format where you can do something like this when it's mostly flat terrain. And one of the reasons for that is because if you're going to have 2,000 or 3,000 points worth of stuff on your tabletop, too much terrain is not going to be fun. So maybe you do some. There have been battles that have been fought on mostly flat terrain, like the Battle of Hoth. There were some trenches on the very end, but for the most part, you didn't have all these buildings and stuff, and it wasn't like an urban battle. There are battles that take place on open fields. The Battle of Crate, granted, that's sequel trilogy, but there are a lot of battles that happen on flat terrains. They tend to be grand, so I think flat terrain would work for Grand Army. Would work great here. But what else could we do? I think Boss Nass is another option. Again, that's just another commander option. But maybe Jar Jar Binks runs as an operative, or maybe he's got multiple versions of him. But Kadu Riders, Fombas, Boss Nass. I think now you're getting close to having a full-fledged Gungan battle force. You could also do like a crate of Boomas. Or like the little catapult things, something like that. I think that also works really well for Gungans and could also be a heavy option potentially. So I'd love to see, that's what I'm kind of hoping to see out of Gungans. I don't know if we'll get all of that right away, but I hope that more things like that are available so we can get a full-fledged Gungan battle force, as opposed to them just being, a couple of guys that fit in with the Republic. Now, fitting in with the Republic could work also. Some people have suggested that you do some Naboo Royal Guard. I see that also working. I see the Naboo Royal Guard possibly working in Star Wars Legion. I could see them working with a Gungan Battle Force if you didn't call it a Gungan Battle Force. I see that being maybe a Naboo Defense Force. And all of a sudden, that makes sense because they're both are on Naboo. Thematically, it works. It makes sense. I can definitely see that working. I don't know if this has as much marketability though. You've got Captain Panaka. You could do Handmaidens. You've already got Padme. You could again. There's a lot of stuff in there that you could definitely make for this game. And of course, that speeder, was kind of meeting with the Gungans. So it's just thematically it all works. Plus, this also is a perfect opportunity to bring Qui-Gon Jinn and maybe even Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi into the game. We've already got Separatist Maul, so if you got Separatist Maul, you should be able to get Qui-Gon no problem. This was the first battle of what became the Clone Wars. Totally works. I'm fine with it. I don't care if it's like, well, that wasn't during the official declaration of war. I'm like, I don't care. It was a great battle, and it was one of the inspirations, I think, for this game, at least for so much of, straight on force warfare. It's amazing. And so much of what we see in Legion right now with Separatists was heavily informed by this battle. And so I think this is an important thing to get. So those are options. I think Wookiees are another ones that also need it. Wookiees and Ewoks. I think Ewoks could get gliders. I think that is easily a thing that you could do for Ewoks. Maybe one or two more named Ewoks. But I think Wookiees, they definitely need, I think Luke Eddy had talked about that there was concept art for a Wookiee turret that they were considering looking at. I think that would work. Whether or not it ends up being like this and it's more stationary, or whether it's a little bit more mobile, whatever the approved design they're able to get, I think that'd be a cool option. Or maybe it wouldn't look anything like this. Maybe the final design is different. Maybe it's all subject to approval. Maybe there is no final design, and AMG would get to create what would be. Apparently this was actually done for episode 3, but didn't really make it on screen. It was one of those things that was just off screen, and so then they'd have to decide if they wanted it to be this is what's canon, this is what's not canon. What we're doing, since it didn't make it on screen. There's a lot of deleted stuff or things that didn't make it on screen that ended up not becoming canon. Look at how many times has Shakti died. Lots. And is she still alive now? What's the real canon answer for Shakti? I'm sure somebody in the comments will let me know that. But also, there's what happened to Chief Tarful granted we got the Wookiee chieftain that kind of looks exactly like Tarful, but where is he? I'd also like to say that if we're expanding on the Wookiee Battle Force, put Chrysanthemum in there. Granted, he was not the best friends with all of the Wookiees, but I mean, maybe Wookiee Battle Force is hey, look, push comes to shove, we've got to defend our homeland. I don't know enough about Chrysanthemum's inner motivations to know how he would feel if he had to go fight alongside a bunch of other Wookiees against defense of a separatist invasion or something, or an Imperial invasion or something like that. I don't know how that would all work out as far as the lore goes, or if he'd be allowed in a Wookiee Battle Force, but I think it would make perfect sense, and I'd love to see it. Love to see a Wookiee Battle Force get expanded a little bit. Again, you already have a Wookiee Battle Force, but it also has clones in there, and I'm like, all right, I don't really want to just run all clones. I'd love to see a more robust and meaningful Wookiee Battle Force with new units. I don't expect it right away, but I think a lot of these things could all come out together. I think when you have Ahsoka come out, if she's going to go in 501st, and you have probe droids, maybe they do General Riken for Hoth, things like that, or you already got your mounted riders and stuff like that. I think something like this could launch alongside that. I think it works. I think it'd be fun, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. That's some of my thoughts on some love that needs to come to Battle Forces for Star Wars Legion. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below, and hopefully let me know if you're going to be at Adepticon. We're heading there next month. It's going to be a fun time. And I'm playing in a couple of tournaments. I'm playing an Armada tournament. I'm playing in a Cyberpunk Combat Zone tournament. But I'm sure I'll be bumping into a lot of Legion players. I'll be swinging by there too to check it out and to say hi and things like that. Because there's only so many hours in each day. And so for this year, I think it was more important for me to play in Armada because it was the last official Worlds. So that kind of conflicted with trying to do a Legion tournament or anything like that. But maybe next time. All right, that's going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. And always wash your socks.